Hello again. William Schnell, 30 Years a Watchtower Slave, in the chapter A Look at the Organization in America. And this subhead is The Society Puts Its House in Order. With this new coterie of men now well established in Brooklyn, New York, in the driver's seat as the Watchtower Society, and with this forward-focused policy goal now adopted, it became necessary for the Watchtower Society to put its own house in order. This is talking about the events in the late 1920s and early 30s when Russell was now being shunted aside, and therefore all those who were loyal to Russell were being lost very rapidly, actually. About 3/4 of the membership of the Bible Students Association was gone, apparently deliberately. Rutherford's policy was to purge out those who were loyal to anyone but himself. He goes on, it was necessary to weed out the recalcitrant elements and to close ranks, even if that meant a decimation of those connected with the erstwhile Bible student movement. A spiritual purge began in the Watchtower organization, long before that word purge became so infamous in this 20th century, employed this means to rid itself of all those not in line with the change of organization policy. On a broad front now began a policy of bearing down on everyone connected with this movement. It was evident that the hardest core of opposition to the Society's policy was to be found in the independent congregations of the Bible students, which were completely autonomous, electing their own elders, having their own preaching arrangements. The Society's books, booklets, and magazines were not used as the curriculum of such meetings, but alone the Word of God formed the material for discussion and study. How to break such a bulwark of individuality and make it yield to an integrated central organization? That was the problem. The initial steps, as we saw, had already been taken in this direction by the Bible students themselves, with the acceptance of the leadership of the Watchtower Society as their champion, so evident in the dissolution of the Society in 1918, and then later when they gave broad backing to the Watchtower Society-sponsored resolution and authorizing them to conduct a worldwide witnessing campaign. Be it noted, though, that only a small percentage of Bible students accepted this policy, with the majority passively acquiescing. The next step was taken by the Watchtower Society with the publishing of an entirely new set of books and booklets, with a new slant, paving the way for total organization. This literature was intended to effect change of thinking on all such matters amidst the Bible student congregations, and gradually to supplant individual thinking with organization-mindedness. In order to make such media available cheaply and in large quantities, the Watchtower Society purchased its own printing plants. And with the book The Harp of God, 1921, began its publishing and printing career. Soon it was able to put out larger books for only 35 cents a book, coming down eventually to as low as 25 cents a book, and a flood of these began to flow out into the world. The use of Watchtower Society published books, booklets, and magazines had a threefold purpose. First, to effect mass thinking within the orbit of the organization on all matters pertaining to the Scriptures. Second, to occupy all Bible students, if possible, with the selling of these books to all mankind, and in doing so to raise issues for cleavage. And third, to form a financial backlog of funds to support a sustained worldwide increase campaign to come. Of course, at first, only very few Bible students would make use of these books in the congregations, and soon disagreement flared over many things expressed therein, and dissension increased. That condition of unrest was not a happy one, and certainly not conducive to fostering the expansion the Society had anticipated. In order then to crystallize matters to the point of a crisis, the Society instituted, early in 1925, a rigid method of accounting and reporting to it at all time spent, that is, in witnessing with its books. It insisted that this new form of regimentation and behavior take the place of Christian character development, and that work for the Society replace individually bearing living fruits to God. Needless to say, this caused a cleavage all over the world, with many refusing to report time and placement and still others refusing even to place the Society's books. In the decade from 1921 to 1931, almost three-fourths of the Bible students originally associated with the Society in a loose fashion left the Society's supervision behind. That is precisely what the New World or the New Watchtower Society wanted and what they hoped to accomplish. Having successfully invaded the congregations of the Bible students, and after forcing about three-fourths of the adherents to leave them, the Society soon had the quorum to operate without opposition among those left behind. Now they were free to ignore individuality. Without opposition, they could now establish set minimum monthly time requirements for each publisher, as well as book quotas of minimum numbers of books to be sold per month. Prior to that, the Society depended for its operating capital entirely upon voluntary contributions sent in by Bible students. But with the worldwide book selling program now in full swing, money soon came pouring in, making it possible not only for them to have sufficient operating capital, but allowing them rapidly to expand their plans and to move into new fields of operation. This continued even through the heart of the Great Depression. Thus, the Society established a mode of worship within the new organization based on business quotas and quantums, making merchandise of men, as had the Jews done in their temple in the days of Jesus. The recruits for such publishers were found in the newly orientated masses, among those trained to the idea of class thinking in opposition to individual thinking. These, of course, were in the majority after the bloodletting of three-fourths of the Bible students had been so adroitly accomplished. As the 20s rolled on, there came a marked change over the original Bible students who remained with the Watchtower Society. They were no longer too much interested in what they had previously termed the Christian walk in the Spirit as new creation, making sure their calling and election. Now they were openly and admittedly more interested in converting the world to their way of thinking and to getting ever greater numbers on their side in order to set them up for kingdom service, measured in terms of time quotas, book placement quotas, and attendance quotas, etc. The attainment of quotas they made paramount in their thinking, even as the Jews, in relationship to their theocracy, emphasized good works, time spent, rituals, and even measuring the number of steps allowed each Sabbath. I'll put in a link to Ray Franz's meditations on field service. The only work that counts, literally, the only work that counts. And of course, now that's changed. So here we have a change that was instituted in the 1920s, which estranged the people who called themselves Bible students in those days from the organization. Now we're back to where we used to be. Well, we're not really. But it is interesting. It's yet another flip-flop in the history of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. I'll put in a link, therefore, to this meditation by Ray Franz on the only work that counts, and also to that playlist, which I think is around 360 videos. The whole book of In Search of Christian Freedom, Ray Franz's second book. See you next time for Chapter 5 in Schnell, A Look Ahead.